Family and fellow soldiers, I'm the professor, and this is the moment of truth.
Now, there's a lot of black men in here, and I don't mean to, not talk to other people, but this is important. Our black men, we got to get them out to vote. That's number one. Kamala's opponent promised a lot of things last time to the black community that he did not deliver on. And we got to make sure we help black men understand that. So that's why I'm here, to make sure I help black men understand. First, get out and vote, and then vote for the next president of the United States, Kamala Harris.
So, how are things going over at the Kamala Harris campaign? Apparently, they've got something on their mind. Their lack of black male voter support. And here they are dragging out Magic Johnson. We gotta help make sure black men understand that. Yeah, because black men are stupid, don't you know? Black men just aren't very bright. Black men need their betters, like some washed-up has-been basketball player, to tell us what our interests are. We need somebody to educate us on politics, because we're just not smart enough to know for ourselves whether Kamala Harris is operating in our interests. We need somebody to explain it to us, and to tell it to us, and most of all, we need to obey. Well, you can tell Magic Johnson stepped in it big time, because even Simone Mammy Sanders knew that he had screwed up.
Do you think some people could read what Magic Johnson said the wrong way? Because I don't want them to read it the wrong way. Because I do think that he was coming from an authentic place, he himself. But
what would he have read wrong?
Well, because I say that because some people, I heard some folks yesterday after this aired, the clips came out. Why is Magic Johnson trying to tell black men what to do? And I'm like, I didn't read it like that, but.
Now, when Simone Sanders, of all people, is saying, I can see how people might take that the wrong way, that's how you know you done messed up. After all, she works on the very same network that Tiffany Cross used to work for. Tiffany Cross was the one who infamously called herself lecturing black men to get in line. She thought she was going to order black men around. Why? Because she saw that black men were setting a trend in the black community. And part of her job as the bootlick for the white media is to make sure she can corral the Negroes and that she's able to show that she can get us all marching in the same direction that her white paymasters want us to march. That's her job. That's why she was on the payroll, because she's supposed to be doing that. She's supposed to be showing that she can lead us around by the nose, and when you have black men acting and thinking for themselves, she was terrified that this would become habit-forming and that black women would get on board, and now they're starting to do so. This is an existential crisis for the bootlicks. Because if they can't lead black folks around by the nose, then what does white power need them for? But Simone Sanders, although she was attempting for a hot minute to look like she had some sense, here comes Michael Steele showing why he's the only black male on the panel.
Well, if you're taking that defensive a posture, then that proves the point that I'm about to ask. Ooh. Because there is a black male problem right now in this race. And I'm just going to put it on the table and go there. There's a tension between black men and black women in this country that no one's really addressing, and it's manifesting in this race in a way that I think is concerning. And
this is a prime example of exactly what I call the incompetent operative class. The only point that's being proven is that Michael Steele is showing everyone exactly why he's not the head of the RNC anymore, because he would never talk about any of the Republicans' constituents like that. When he was the RNC chairman, he dang sure wouldn't dare. But here he is on MSDNC, and he's telling blatant lies about black men, recycling that old black men are sexist crap. This is supposed to be a black male saying this garbage. And this is how you talk when you know that you've lost. When you've already resigned yourself to the idea that black men have left the building and aren't coming back. Why not talk trash openly? It's not as if you're going to offend black men to the point that they'll leave, because you've already done that. They're not saying a word about policy, because this isn't about doing anything for black voters at all. Black men or black women or just black folks in general. This is about getting black people to vote, but making sure that black voters don't get anything. That's the crucial point that they have to reach. It's not enough to merely get black votes. If that's what they wanted, they could do that very easily. What this is about is taking those disenchanted and disgruntled black voters and finding a way to get them to still vote, but to continue doing it for nothing. And if there's a segment of black voters who clearly aren't going for the okie doke, then insult them, talk down to them, call them names, but most importantly, don't say a word about doing anything for them, and definitely don't say what it is that these angry black voters are actually upset about. Don't say what it is that they are claiming is the reason that they're not going to vote for the Democrats. Don't do that, because we're not trying to signal boost that. We're just trying to make it seem as if, oh, these guys, they're just a bunch of idiots. They're just a bunch of fools. They're just a bunch of political morons. They need somebody to explain it to and make them understand because they're just too dumb. I mean, this is what they talk about to black men, and then they wonder why black men don't want to vote for them. How condescending and insulting this scumbag, Michael Steele and Magic Johnson are.
Now, there's a lot of black men in here, and I don't mean to, not talk to other people, but this is important.
You got Magic Johnson saying he wants to address black men, but then he has to kowtow and apologize to everybody else, because they're not supposed to even acknowledge black voters, and certainly not black men. And when he speaks about black men, what does he say? He says, we gotta get them out to vote. He draws a clear distinction between black men and we, by whom he means the people who have to get black men to go vote. I mean, he's supposed to be a black man himself, allegedly. So why the hell is he saying we gotta get black men to vote? He's telling some non-black group that they have to get black men out to vote. Remember what I told you about how America is a political plantation? And on a plantation, you have the plantation owners, that's the Republicans. They're the ones who speak up for the establishment. And then you have the slave catchers. That's the Democrats. I mean, just look at what that Donna Edwards woman said, saying that Kamala Edwards was bringing black men home.
Look, I think that I believe in what Shirley Chisholm said. Not so much about race as it is about gender, and I don't think that what some black men, and it's not a lot because Kamala Harris has actually done an awful lot to bring black men home.
The Democratic Party is not home. The black community is. We don't live in either political party because we don't own either one of them. So it's not our home. But this is what I'd expect from a lifelong Democrat shill like this Donna Edwards woman. If any black people decide that they won't play along with this phony sham of a political choice that America claims to have, and black folks decide to just go their own way, then they send the Democrats to go and bring us back home. Yeah, back to the big house. Now, when's the last time or any time that you've seen them do this with any other group? Do you see them having some Hispanic actor or singer get in front of an audience and say, we gotta get Hispanic men out to vote? We gotta make them understand what's in their interest? Do you see them doing that with Asian men? They definitely wouldn't try that with Jewish male voters, or with white men, or even white women for that matter. If there's one constituency the Democrats do need to spend their time dragging to the polls and wagging their fingers at, it should be white women, but they don't dare lecture them. Seems that they're worried that if they tried that, it might be condescending and off-putting to white female voters, so they don't want to do that. But with black voters in general and black men in specific, it's never the wrong time to wag their fingers at us, and never the wrong place to call themselves calling us out and telling us what we better do and talking down to us like we're stupid.
Kamala's opponent promised a lot of things last time to the black community that he did not deliver on. And we got to make sure we help black men understand that.
And you can tell the DNC memo was sent out because Magic Johnson began lecturing black men that we owe it to Kamala Harris to vote for her because Trump didn't deliver on his promises to the black community. Now, do you notice the verbal sleight of hand that he did? Johnson was lecturing black men, but when talking about Trump, he switched to the black community. Notice that? Oh, where is Vivica Fox at when you need her? Now, first of all, what promises did Trump make to any person in the black community? Did he make any promises to the black community at all? I don't recall any. Do you? So Trump made no promises to us, and he kept his word. Magic Johnson, however, claims that Trump didn't keep his promises, but he doesn't even name one of these alleged broken promises. You can't break a promise you never made, Magic. Now, if you want to talk about broken political promises, Magic Johnson, I can give you a few, and they all come from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Here's just a few. He announced that he suddenly realized he just didn't have time for a White House-level police accountability commission, and that Congress should handle it. Nancy Pelosi was Speaker of the House because black voters made her so, but we never heard about that police accountability commission ever again, and none of these black celebrity shills like Magic Johnson has asked any questions about it either. Biden and Harris also promised a so-called Lift Every Voice plan, which was basically another Democrat lift all boats scam. Same old grab bag of DNC giveaways to immigrants, white women, and the LGBT community, but nothing for black people. Nothing except hollow words. And what became of that do-nothing policy? Nothing. That's what. And then there was the John Lewis Voting Rights Act that they promised, which never happened. Biden and Kamala promised a George Floyd Policing Act, but nothing came of that either. Biden said that he would have black people's backs, but instead, as soon as he took office, he ran straight to the police and told them he was on their side. He even went to the Supreme Court to argue on their behalf to weaken Miranda protections. And that's why for every year since the Biden-Harris administration took over, police killings of black citizens have only gone up. Every single year of their administration, with 2024 set to be the highest year yet. So that's what's happened with the promises that Biden and Harris made. They broke every single one of them. So if Magic Johnson wants to talk about broken promises on the campaign trail, great. But it's not Trump who made a bunch of promises and didn't keep them. It's the same Kamala Harris who Magic Johnson is endorsing today who broke all of her promises. And they had him in Michigan doing this mess. And he's there because Democrats apparently remember how Hillary Clinton totally ignored Detroit in 2016, figuring that black voters would just automatically vote for her because, well, they'd be too scared of the orange man. Instead, black people stayed home. So I guess at least one of those brain-dead advisors for the Democrats must have figured out that without Michigan, they won't win the election. And this is their pathetic idea of black voter outreach. Lecturing black men, talking down to black men. Because while Magic Johnson's talking about Trump not keeping his promises, he's not saying what Kamala Harris is even promising to black men or to the black community in general for that matter. Magic Johnson's supposed to be a black man, but more than that, he's a sports figure, and that's the reason the DNC decided to bring him in to sell the soap for Kamala. The idea being, I guess, that black men are supposed to be simple-minded and only think about tennis shoes and sports. So if they bring in this has-been to lecture us, then we'll listen to him because, well, I guess because he won an NBA championship? Magic Johnson doesn't say a word about policy. Obviously, he doesn't know anything about it, and he doesn't care. He's made his pile of money, and that's all that matters. He doesn't say what policies Kamala's pushing that he's so enthused about, because apparently he hasn't actually looked at the planks of her political platform. So this is just the predictable hot air from a blowhard. But why are the Democrats putting Magic Johnson out in front of the cameras for something like this? Why aren't they sending, I don't know, the nominee herself maybe to come and speak to black men? After all, she's the one running for office, not Magic Johnson. But they don't dare send her out because they know that she doesn't have any credibility. And that's the problem. Kamala Harris can't come and talk to black men because we've entirely rejected her. The black media's exposed her and all of her little tricks. Her little would-be barber shop chats haven't fooled anyone. Some cherry-picked Negroes who you've already got on the take, and these fools aren't going to ask any tough questions or bring any demands, that's not fooling anyone. We have damaged Kamala Harris so much now she can't even get out there and push her own propaganda. At least the orange man had the nerve to get in front of the cameras and say, "What do you got to lose?" Kamala Harris hasn't even done that much. What this proves, though, is that no matter how brave a front that the Democrats try to put up, they know that the black media is educating black folks about what's really going on. And after years and years of bragging about how much they don't need black men, the Democrats are beginning to slowly realize they do if they want to win. I can only imagine how bad Kamala's internal polling must look for her to have to do something this desperate. This means she has a gap in her voter support large enough where it can't be ignored. And Magic Johnson, while I'm sure that you're very pleased with yourself for carrying water for the Democrats, I got worse news for you. More and more black women are turning their backs on Kamala too. More and more black women are seeing through the scam. They're seeing through the lies. And they're also following black men's lead and demanding to know what's in it for us if we vote for you. Now let's get the obvious part out of the way. Magic Johnson is clearly shilling for Kamala. This is the latest in an endless string of examples of why we don't trust black celebrities. These are sellouts, period. And when it comes to politics, we don't listen to them at all. And speaking of people we don't listen to...
Joining me now, Kamala Bell. He's a stand-up comedian, the Emmy Award-winning executive producer of United Shades of America, the author of The Awkward Thoughts of Kamala Bell and Do the Work. Kamala, good to have you on the show. Nice to see you again, my friend. A recent poll from Howard University shows that 21% of black men under 50 who are likely voters are still saying that they will support Donald Trump. And one of the criticisms of Democrats that they have is that they continue to feel taken for granted as black men. Give me your take on this.
Well, first of all, thank God I'm not a black man under 50. So that's the first time I ever thought I'd say that. But yeah, I think let's be clear. The same toxic masculinity that is weaponizing all men, white men specifically, against each other against the rest of us on the internet is also affecting black men. Now, there are legitimate reasons to not want to support Kamala Harris. I don't know if there's legitimate reasons for black men to support Trump. I think that is basically misogynoir, as we say. But I think that the idea that, we are all vulnerable to the misinformation online. And I think that certainly it is a thing we can speak to, because my feeling is like, you can vote for whoever you want to, but just have the right information.
Well, you know what? All I gotta say is thank God I'm not Kamala Bell. And I did think I would say that. This is the clown whose unqualified opinion the white media asks for. When talking about black men, this is who they go to, a fool who doesn't speak for any black man or any black person for that matter. Which is why, when Ali Velshi was listing some of Kamala Bell's past propaganda works, notice that he didn't dare mention Bell's Cosby documentary. Wouldn't you think that would be the first thing they would talk about? That's about the only thing people might remember that he did, and yet Ali Velshi didn't mention it. And why is that? Because the black media tore that idiot a new one over that fraud piece that he put out. It's a political liability to him, so he can't mention it, especially not if they're going to wag their finger at black men. Now, the most obvious thing in the world is, if these guys are so confused about why it is that there are black men who are saying that they're going to stay home as opposed to vote for Kamala Harris, why not just talk to them and ask why? Isn't that the white media's job, allegedly, to try to clear things up? So why not do that? Well, it's because they know that once people hear what black men's objections are, they're going to agree with us. This is not about learning the truth. This is about covering up the truth. This is about shaping public opinion through the use of propaganda. And if you know that talking to any black man will result in them saying things that don't fit the white media narrative, then you'll be forced to stick to sellout celebrities like Magic Johnson and bootlicking punks like Kamala Bell. We told you this is what the black grassroots did. They don't dare try to talk to any black man on the street anymore because they know black men have gotten on code about it thanks to the black media. And also, due to the black media, we will also call out any Democrat shills who think that they're going to get on camera and pretend as if they're just Joe Blow black voter. We're educating people on how the white media creates and pushes its propaganda. So this is what they've been reduced to, literally talking to a clown. Let me go ahead and go on the record and tell you right now, I'm not voting for Trump. But that's not what the Democrats fear. They know that if black voters stay home, they're going to lose. And if, as they claim, democracy hangs in the balance, then shouldn't they be tripping over their shoelaces to run to us with a raft of money and tangibles to get our vote? That is, if the situation is as dire as the Democrats claim, because the white right does that for their constituents. They bring them tangibles. They talk about but here's what you're going to get. And they're not claiming democracy is hanging in the balance at all. Seems to me that somebody's trying to scare us to the polls again. But only an idiot would fall for that, which explains why Kamala Bell is running his mouth. Toxic masculinity, he claims. How about bootlicks like Kamala Bell's toxic stupidity? This is how he tries to appeal to black men. This is how the white media and the DNC's little shill tries to persuade black men by insulting us. And you notice that across the board, it doesn't matter if it's Magic Johnson, Michael Steele, or Kamala Bell. Whenever someone points out that black men are making demands, the first thing that these white media bootlicks do is to insult us. And they do it openly. Keep in mind, these are the same fools who, any other time, when talking about any other constituency, if they had a politician or any of their mouthpieces who were insulting them or talking down to them or calling themselves wagging their finger at them, they'd be saying, oh man, some tone-deaf idiot didn't get the memo. That's not how you talk to constituency. That'll just run people off. That's how they would be talking about anyone else. But when they're talking about black voters, especially black men, it's like, nah, you insult them, you condescend to them, talk down to them, tell them they don't understand anything, tell them that they're sexist, there's something wrong with them. You're probably wondering, who is this meant to persuade? And the answer is, not us. The real audience for this is comfort food to the white left who are slowly coming to the realization that they're losing their ability to get us to settle for nothing. You got Kamala Bell using the pathetic talking points that are kicked around by the bootlicks in the tether class. Whenever talking about black men, we get that shea butter babble about misogynoir and black men are toxic and we need to get in line and black men are part of rape culture. That's what Sleaze Merritt said about black men when he was trying to ambulance chase during the R. Kelly prosecutions. The phony accusation of sexism against black men, that's meant to derail the conversation. It's intentionally done for the purpose of taking us off topic. Because if we're busy defending ourselves from phony accusations of sexism, if we're busy debating lies like that, then we're not pointing out that Kamala Harris isn't and has never done anything for black people and isn't offering us anything. There's less than 30 days to go before the election. Kamala and her handlers are desperately trying to keep her away from the cameras, away from any scrutiny. Every time she gets in front of the cameras, it's a train wreck. As they see it, they've shielded her from public view for this long, and if they can just duck and dodge and hide a few weeks longer, then they will have made it to Election Day without her having to ruin it all by actually saying anything. They're trying to hide the candidate. Kamala Bell is a self-hating black man, mainly because he's not really much of a man at all. He's a bootlicking shill. He had a pathetic little skit commercial that he played which attacked Trump and J.D. Vance. Okay, I don't have a problem with that, but all the arguments that he used, every single one of them, had to do with transgender people. Transgender bathrooms, transgender books. I gotta wonder, is Kamala Bell trying to tell us something about himself? But he said practically nothing about black people at all. Gee, wasn't he on that segment to explain why black men are gravitating away from the Democrats? So if MSNBC and the rest of the white leftist media really want to know why black men are not going for their candidates or their mouthpieces like Kamala Bell, this is the reason why. Ali Velshi says that black men feel they're ignored and taken for granted by the Democrats, and then Kamala Bell goes on to prove us right. And notice that at no point does Kamala Bell or Ali Velshi or anyone else actually say what Kamala Harris or any other Democrat's going to offer to black men or to the black community in general. They whine about how black male voters refuse to be taken for granted, but at no point does anyone ever attempt to say, okay, now here's what we're going to do for them. Instead, it is literally, well, these black men are just toxic. They're just sexist. They're intimidated by strong women. Is that how an election's supposed to work? A candidate orders you to vote for them, and when you point out that you have demands that the candidate has to meet first, they decide to start insulting you and berating you and telling you you're toxic if you don't vote for them. They don't do that with any other constituency. They don't do that with the LGBT community or with Latinos or Jewish voters or Asians or women, white women that is, or anyone else. They save their abuse and their insults for black voters. You would never have a Hispanic person brought on MSNBC and someone ask, gee, why are Hispanics trending towards Trump even after he locked up children on the border, and then have that Hispanic guest say, well, that's because there's a lot of toxic masculinity among Latino men. They're just toxic, you know. They would never do that. And neither would anyone else from these other groups. And don't kid yourself. The white media didn't just bring this clown on randomly. He's a reliable idiot. They knew exactly what he was going to say before he said it. They saw how the black grassroots beat him like a drum for his little Cosby propaganda flick. And we're the reason why it bombed. I do, however, agree with Kamala Bell that the white right and their culture war is nothing more than a clumsy front for a political grift, getting paid for pushing political garbage down the public's throats. But then again, Kamala Bell should know because that's the same grift he's running. It's the reason he can be insulting and abusive towards black men and not care, because he's looking for a paycheck from a white media corporation or a white political party. That's the real audience that he's playing to. Bootlicks are not trying to appeal to a black audience. When Kamala Bell does his shuffling routine, he's performing for a white audience, specifically white media producers and the DNC leadership that he wants to get a job from. So, on the one hand, Kamala Bell insults black men as being toxic, and on the other hand, he does a parody political ad that totally ignores black men altogether. That makes the point for the Democrats clearer than anything. If you're black, you'll either be ignored at best and insulted and vilified at worst, but what you won't be is listened to or obeyed. Politicians are not kings or royalty. They may try to act like it, but they're not. What they are is public servants. But since when does a servant insult his boss? Since when does a servant tell his boss what he will or will not do? Since when does a servant call themselves barking out orders at their boss and try to order them around? Because when you look at what the Democrats are doing where black voters are concerned, that's precisely what you see. They want to insult us, ignore us, boldly tell us they're not going to do anything for us, talk down to us and tell us what we don't understand, and then order us to go vote for them and sit back while we do it. This guy is not trying to convince or persuade black men. He's trying to show the white left and white media companies that he'll be a willing and aggressive attack dog against us. It's like Issa Rae, a pathetic, awkward black person who will say anything, do anything, make a total fool of themselves, buck dance to get a few guffaws from a white power broker, and to do it at the expense of black men in specific. It's the easiest and oldest grift under white supremacy. It's why blackface became big business. Trying to turn a quick buck, just insult black people, black men in particular, and watch as the dollars roll in. There's no black man out there who looks at Kamala Bell, Michael Steele, or Magic Johnson and thinks, I want to be just like that. Kamala Bell is a walking advertisement against the Democrats and the white left for that matter. Kamala Bell is a sniveling worm who crawls on his belly and begs white daddy for crumbs. But it does make sense that Kamala Bell feebly tries to make people laugh. After all, he is a joke. And given what I've seen, Kamala Bell, Michael Steele, and Magic Johnson ought to do a road show together. They could call it the Three Stooges. Good day, and be one. I'd like to take a moment to mention some of our contributors. Shiva Boone, Amir Miller, Ikegas Dorset, Pharrell Taylor, and G. Mars. Salute to them and thank you to everyone for listening, liking, and sharing this message. Black empowerment only exists because of you.